Hello and welcome to the inaugural, how about that, guys? 4 Beers In. We are coming to you from Frolic Brewery because if you're going to have beers, you got to be somewhere where it's supplied easily for you.
The beers don't come to us. We go to the beers.
Exactly. So I am Brendan. That is Matt. Hi, Marco.
Hola.
And Tammy will be somewhat hosting this episode because the topic was her choice. But let's talk beers real quick, guys.
Beers.
I am sipping on what we call the American IPA. It's got 4 hops in it, so it's kind of... Although, for Matt, not really being a hoppy kind of... You don't really like your beers too hoppy. You
The older I get, the more I just like a good IPA.
Okay, good. I mean, you've been drinking the brown here for a bit.
Yeah, the brown's a little heavy. The IPA is a nice light summery. Maybe I'll go back in the fall to the brown. Maybe I won't. I really am enjoying... I've grown into the IPAs as I can't digestively handle stouts anymore, which is what I used to drink. I just switched to the IPAs, never looked back.
Well, we have a brown in the bright tank right now, so there will be a new batch of brown hitting our taps probably in the next
I got 2
month.
hands. Left brown, right IPA.
There will also be an Oktoberfest in the works.
Can you do me a black and tan?
I
of the
could
two?
do. I could.
Are they viscous enough? Can you actually
Well,
separate?
The buoyancy is key
So
for
that's
that
I
one.
haven't
Yes.
tried, but I would almost do like our Pilsner or Brute, and then I would do the brown. There's no way I would mix the French toast porter in there. That's
It goes against my number one rule is I prefer beer flavored beer.
yes.
Yeah, that's sweet to do a mix.
Speaking of sweet, what are you sipping on?
I'm doing the berry seltzer. I know it's not a beer,
But
but it kicks a punch.
this is not your typical seltzer. It's not made out of malt or any sort of grain. In fact, it's made out of sugars, so it's completely gluten-free. It's 100 calories, and it's made with champagne yeast. So if you like your bubblies,
I love a good beer, but it depends on my calorie intake. Today I'm sticking to seltzer since.
and we always have to have at least somebody who likes their beer flavored more than beer.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of Matt. I like non-beer flavored beers. So I'm doing the black.
Another way to say that is I don't like beer.
It tastes like beer.
He's between a
I
seltzer and
can't
beer.
stand
so-
it.
The blackberry though it's a wheat beer, which doesn't kind of have that. I mean, we have a little bit of hops in there, but it's you don't really taste that. And the blackberry is a good flavor, and it's one of our higher selling beers here.
I feel like beer just to drink. I like flavored beers like the French toast, like the blackberry. But like beer with food, I would be more in line with what Matt likes.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean a
Like
French
you have
toast
a nice
beer.
burger. It's
Unless
good to
you're-
have a beer.
Unless you're drinking it for breakfast, a
Yeah.
French
Yeah.
toast beer is going to clash
Yeah.
and taint any meal you're eating.
And that's probably why we go through a keg a month with the French toast. It's not a whole
Oh,
lot.
it's also
You can't have more than
millennials.
If you were a soccer bar, though, that would kill for mornings when people are drinking
Oh,
beer.
with that 4 a.m. Manchester United
Yeah,
broadcast,
but
you can't
depending on
legally
the
serve it
yeah, I was
though.
just gonna say depending on where you're at and
Well,
who
8 to
you
10,
are, like we
10
can't serve
a.m.
liquor
games.
until
Yeah.
7 a.m.
That's
so,
true, but still,
yeah.
people will order at 7 a.m. Even though the game is pretty much over by then. They'll stay to talk about it.
Do
Exactly.
the
They
orange
could.
juice beer.
Oh, the blood orange.
Or any. You were mixing orange juice
Oh,
and beer.
beer mimosas.
Beer mimosa.
So what I was doing when we were camping.
I'm offended by this entire conversation.
Well, Matt was just talking about millennials, and beer mosa sounds extremely millennial.
Actually, it sounds hipster, and that transcends. There's a few of them started in Gen X.
Well,
It
I
sounds
didn't.
like a hangover cure more than enjoyment.
Well, beer mimosas weren't even on my radar until I started working here with the master brewer, and he was talking about sometimes on his days off, in most cases on his days off, he'll take the White Rascal, which is a pilsner at the brewery he used to work at, and then mix it with orange juice.
Or you could just drink water.
But when you're camping, you just start with beer. And so your excuse is throw a little orange juice and it's not as bad.
I'll bring you up a bit.
All right, cool. Yeah, actually, that sounds better now. Thank you.
Yeah, looks better.
It,
I think you tend to
yeah,
drift.
and I got to get next to, or used to a different
That
mic
motion
anyway.
was funny.
I can always edit.
You can't see it, but he looked like he was about to be.
Well, that was always the consequence of putting a black one in front of him. We knew
Since
this.
we have
We
no
knew this would
camera, I
come.
believe the term for that is called chicken head.
Oh no, it's what was
so
that?
so
was
people
that,
can get a visual in their head.
If you're a Gen Xer, i.e. better than Marco, then you know from Clerks the train seal.
Oh, Clark.
Oh yes, Clerks.
The
Oh
Silent
no,
J and Bob.
that might have
Silent
to go.
Bob and Jay.
We might have to do 90s movies next. Anyway, speaking of that,
Get on
Tammy,
with it.
your choice was 80s movies. So why don't we go ahead and throw the narrative over to you and let's.
Since this is the first one, I'll just
This
interject
is-
that this is a podcast where we will talk about just about anything
That's true.
after 4 beers.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
today's topic is 80s movies, and who knows where this might go, especially after more beers. But let's start it off, Tam.
Should we have to say our birthdays before we
Oh, no.
begin?
As long as
Oh,
we
no.
don't say the year, just the month and date.
Well, I think
I'm okay with
No,
it.
the
I don't
year
think
is
that's
the
what
only
Matt was
relevant-
angling for.
The year is the only relevant factor.
let's just put it this way, though. We're all, in one way or another, 80s kids.
Some of us, we were all somehow,
I'm
Link,
barely.
everyone's
we,
linked to
we
the
all
80s at some
somehow,
part.
we all existed in the 80s at some point in the 80s.
There,
Yes.
yes.
But I'll just say Marco is the youngest here, by
Yes.
far.
So he probably struggled the most out of us because I struggled. I had so
You had a
many
different
options.
kind of struggle, because it almost felt like there was too many movies.
There's too many choices for me.
Well, how do you want to start this?
So I chose 80s movies because I felt like it doesn't matter what generation you really are, you really do go back to some. Everyone knows 80s movies. I mean, whether it's clothing, music, movies. Granted, I chose movies, but I thought we all could relate at some.
I'm glad you didn't choose clothing because feety pajamas is about all I got to
in
contribute
leg
to
warmers
that.
and shoulder off sweaters. No, not you, Matt.
All that is coming back in.
Yeah, I'm bringing the
especially
leg warmers
for,
back.
For ski gear, you go up to the ski slope, everyone's wearing leg warmers and footy pajamas now. It's back in.
All right.
Tassels
We all
on
need to
your
get leg
socks,
warmers.
and yeah.
Yeah, neon colors.
Well, nothing will touch hammer pants.
Oh, those were bad.
That's
Those
the
were
we
night-
never
wait
good.
10
That is
more years,
90s.
those
Like,
will
those are
come
never
back
good.
into
At least I did.
2030.
If you can't find any, the maternity section at Goodwill. That's where you go for hammer pants these days.
So therefore, yes, I chose 80s movies. So I thought it would be fun to throw out our favorites, our least favorites, and a guilty pleasure. We all have those.
Guilty pleasure meaning like it's probably going to be bad, but we thought it was really.
That was even hard. There's a lot of guilty pleasures I was finding I had. I have a
You-
huge list. I was trying to narrow it down to 5 for best and worst, but I think I have like 50 altogether.
So settle in, folks.
That's
This
right.
is going
I
to take
might-
a while.
I might go
and this is
into-
only 25% of the.
Well,
of
John
the
Hughes
host.
John
Fumes.
Hughes.
Hughes films alone was pretty much 80s.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely the peak of his career.
Yeah. And if you go by certain actors, I mean, you go Eddie Murphy, he's got a bunch of 80s. John Candy, he's got a bunch. Chevy Chase, like
Charlie
there's-
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Although he also did some 90s stuff.
I would say him more in the 90s, for me anyway.
So his brother though.
Emilio.
Yeah.
He was
All right,
riding.
I know we're already off page. Let's
He
go
was
with.
riding Emilio's coattails for a whole decade. Yeah. All the
Yes,
wisdom. Yeah.
And actually, we'll start with that because Emilio is in a couple of my favorites.
Okay.
Breakfast Club. You have to go Breakfast Club, and I know we brought.
Are you
that
doing
up.
these number 1 to 5, 5 to 1, or indiscriminate?
I don't know. I just
Okay.
I have so many right now.
Is
I
this just
had
'cause
5,
Emilio
and then
came
I
up?
keep. Huh?
Are you? So you're mentioning breakfast?
These are my
because
favorites.
Okay.
We'll start with favorites. So, Breakfast Club, Emilio.
That's on
the
my
best.
list too.
Does
so I
anyone
will-
disagree with the Breakfast Club being
You
a fucking
can't.
awesome movie?
I mean, so many good
Full
actors.
disclosure, I haven't seen it.
What?
Sorry, you guys
Oh
can crucify me for that
no!
one.
Jeez.
Well,
Might have to because that one.
It's
I
going
don't
to be
care
another
how
one
old
you
are.
guys
You
are
should
going to
know
make
Breakfast
me
Club.
binge it.
yes.
You guys, Marco, you have to see this movie, this movie, this movie.
Well, we did
Mess
get you
with the
to
bull,
see.
You get the horns.
Right.
You need to know that.
Excuse me, does Barry Manilow know you raid his wardrobe?
Oh my god.
I laughed at that before I even understood it.
There's so many.
I
Chicks
used
cannot
to-
hold bespoke. I mean, there's so many.
I used to sneak out of bed to watch that
Yeah.
because of the swearing, to watch that as a child, and I loved it. But as an adult, I get it. And it's
Well, there's
so
actually a
much
good
better.
story to it because you have I mean,
I mean,
if you take high school
yes, there
and
you
you
go.
talk about like everyone, like in their little cliques, you got your popular kids, your jocks, your nerds, your
Outcast.
struggling who.
Well, use Anthony Michael Hall's words.
Oh,
He
'cause
labeled
he
it for
did.
you. You got a basket case, a princess, a
That's
criminal.
exactly it.
You got a brain, and you got a
Yep.
jock.
Yep.
Or a sporto. Did he say jock
I
or
think he said
sporto?
Sporto.
Sport. a
They all
sport,
won
or-
in the end.
You know, I have often said, sadly, I never felt like I was represented in that group of people. I didn't fit in with any of them. I wasn't quite a basket case,
were
and
a floater.
I certainly wasn't as brainy as Brian in that movie. Did anyone else feel they were
No,
accurately
I was.
represented?
I guess if
Brendan, were you with
anything,
Emilio?
I was probably more the Emilio. Yeah.
I
mean,
definitely wasn't sporty at all.
I
I
can
was-
see where you weren't fully, because I feel like when they take like you said, a brainiac and the sport, they make it to the extreme of that
Well,
particular.
yeah.
So
I mean, I
a lot
knew
of people
kids I
are
would-
probably in the more neutral.
I could probably name kids that fit those molds
Well,
pretty
and-
well.
And
Yeah,
he
that's
did look
true.
at me and say, you know, I was the jock. I played sports every season there was. I mean, it was soccer, then it was wrestling, then it was baseball. Like, I played sports all the way through high school. So, and the jock lifestyle was definitely there. A lot of my friends were jocks, but I also tried to hang out with others who weren't, because I was also drama club. So I kind of was one spectrum to the other, but I was never a part of the brainies.
So
I-
academic clubs aren't the same as other kind of clubs.
Yeah.
No, and-
But they didn't represent everything, because I was a class clown and skipped school, but I was friends with anyone. I didn't care. So it really did.
You bitch.
I am a bitch.
People thought I was smart, but I was only really good at things I cared about, and I was really mostly either disinterested or I flat out hated high school.
Yep.
So I did well in things until I didn't, and then I was an anomaly because I had to go to summer school and I barely graduated. But I'm not a stupid person because
That's
I
funny.
That
was-
I
I
thought
was
alike.
the
same
Me
way.
too.
Yeah.
I didn't apply myself because it wasn't something that I actually.
yeah. And I would go on to community college and be dean's listed, and all these grants and shit was easy for me. It's not that I was dumb; it's that I hated
You
it.
didn't care.
you were bored.
And I actively hated high school.
Yeah,
I
that's
Today
actually
we call that
good.
ADHD.
Oh, but I don't think I even have that. I think I just hated high school.
Oh, I hated it. The only reason I went is to see friends. That really was like, and I was
Hated my friends.
Oh, and I was the fourth kid, so like, I was judged by my siblings. Oh, your sister's in honor society, and your brother's this. I'm like, well, I'm fucking not. So we're all different. Why are you telling me that?
Don't you?
So I guess I'm
Yeah.
I'm a mix of Ali
Forget
Sheedy and
about
Brian in
me.
that movie. I'm kind of an outcast. I always consider myself a misfit because my friends were misfits for sure. Yeah, but I wasn't that extreme that Ali Sheedy was. What was her name? Ali
Yeah,
in that movie?
Ali Sheedy.
Is
Yeah.
it still Ali
Yeah.
in the movie though? The character? Did they ever say her name
I don't
in the
remember
character?
her.
I'm like, did she even
just
have a
dumped her
name?
shit out.
You never know when you have to jam.
Yeah.
Right?
Good luck.
And put the Fritos or the chips on the sandwich. Like,
That's
because
probably
that was
it.
something that I did.
It was Captain Crunch.
That's right. It was
Get
Captain
it right.
Crunch.
Jeez.
That is where I learned the term beaver shot.
His
and
name-
Ralph as in, and
I was
Ralph
gonna
as
say
in puke.
Yes, I was just gonna say Ralph as in puke.
So you gotta watch it. See, you learn a lot.
Hey, let's talk about one Marco can relate to.
Okay,
how
well, all
about-
right. Do you want to go around and we each have one?
We-
Or do
we
all
could.
We could do
like
that.
our-
That might
I
be-
think that
that
would be
might be
best.
okay.
So that was my
List.
first upper. So I upper.
Your
Offer?
your first choice
Yes.
was Breakfast
You
Club.
pick the next one then, Tim.
Who goes next?
We got uppers, downers.
Oh, I'm gonna go Marco because he is the young one.
I'm the young one. I have a
does-
list here. They're all pretty mainstream, though. The least, I think, underrated one, because people don't think of it like first off as like their main one, but then when you mention it, everyone's like,
Yes, that one. I would say Coming to America.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great movie.
Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy's awesome.
Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
I want a hot tub in the middle of the apartment.
Yeah, it's a real shithole. You'll love it.
Yeah, and working
I
at
love
McDonald's being a dream job.
I was always so proud of myself because the part where he was taking pictures of the McDowells and then Cleo, it's like, me and the McDonald's people, we got a misunderstanding. I was like the first one of my friends to get that as a little kid. Like, oh, it's McDonald's spy, basically, corporate spy. Like, I felt I was pretty smart for catching that.
It is.
But that's a very good movie.
That is a good one.
And it also kind of accurately describes the immigrant experience in a way.
If you're royalty,
No, just like kind of the weird quirks and not understanding like
How
certain
things are done.
aspects. Yeah. So I have a little bit of that because my mom came here from the Philippines. So sometimes you just don't understand things culturally. You're like, Mom, this is how this works. And it's kind of seeing the parallels between her and the Eddie Murphy character.
I love that you can see it in a different view like that.
and your mom was more the Eddie Murphy than the Arsenio Hall in that.
Arsenio
Arsenio Hall
Hall.
was
Yeah.
held hostage. He
Just
wanted
kind
to
of the
live,
blind optimism. You're like, no, no.
but we could live like royal. No, we're gonna live poor.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's a good one.
That is great. Just let your soul glow. Who's next?
I was just gonna say that when he gets his head off and they leave the dripping part of it.
And the elaborate wedding too. That's
the first one or the last one?
the last one.
Okay, because the first one was funny too. Jump up and down like a dog. Bark like a dog. He actually looked at the camera at one point. He broke the fourth wall. I'd never seen that before.
I think they're gonna make a new one. Is
They've been
that
talking
rumored?
about that for
Are they
years.
doing it, or
They've
is
been
it
saying
just
that for
rumored?
years. I have no comment.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I've heard that that's coming for years.
Right.
Well, I mean,
And would it be good or not? Because you have that.
That's what's
expectation,
scary about
because
it.
obviously, especially in the '80s, when you do a second or any,
Well, when we get to the ones we don't like, a couple of mine were sequels
yeah,
because they just went bad.
Yeah.
They tried too hard almost. But well,
Okay.
why don't we go?
I would go with Matt.
Yeah.
We'll just go around the table. What
Yeah.
is a favorite
Okay.
of yours?
So when I was going through my list, you're right, there's way too many, and I didn't know how to kind of qualify everything, so I thought I'd go by what was the most influential to me.
Nice.
What made me the man I am? And I gotta say that it's either 16 Candles or Just One of the Guys is the first time I
Just
saw
One of the
breasts,
Guys.
naked breasts, and I would pause the tape on that exact scene.
That's hilarious.
Those were very influential on me. I was a very, let's say, romantic child. I was never like the girls have cooties kid. I was
Yeah.
always I have a crush on all the girls in my class kid.
I'm with you.
So, I mean,
That's
there's a
awesome.
special place in my heart for that scene in
I
16
actually
Candles.
just wrote Just One of the Guys because that's one I forgot about.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed that you just said that one because I
Where
don't
do you-
think that one is
Tam.
as popular as
Tam,
some.
where do you get off having tits? Classic movie.
Oh my God.
So it was a tie between those two because they influenced me greatly and equally.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you for putting that back on my radar because I forgot about that one. Now,
Just
16,
One of the Guys?
yeah.
That one's kind of, it's popular, but not as some of the ones we're
Right.
probably going to bring
It's
up.
one of
So
those
that
more
one-
like less appreciated ones.
Really
the
was.
brother Bud, obsessed with Playboy, decorated his entire
Yeah.
room with
Yeah.
centerfolds. That was right in my wheelhouse. What was that, like 86,
Oh,
87?
I didn't write the year, but
I
I'm
didn't
literally,
either.
I wrote that at the end of
But
my
I can
list.
tell you that that movie was invaluable to me pre-internet, pre-Sears catalog. I should say concurrent with Sears catalog.
That's awesome. I didn't expect you to bring that one up.
Very influential.
Yeah.
Brendan.
Major League.
See, I specifically
that was a
didn't pick
good
that
one,
one
too.
because I knew somebody else would.
Yeah.
It-
Well, 16 Candles, too. Because that one.
I wasn't
mean,
sure. Molly Ringwald doesn't. Well,
She's
That one-
totally 80s to me, Molly.
Oh, anything
Wow.
that she's been
And
in.
she,
yeah.
I actually see where you said you're influential for Just One of the Guys, or just,
Yes.
yes. Well, 16 Candles, like, that's kind of where you got the unpopular girls a little bit, and they like the popular guy, Jake, and it kind of brings
Which
that
is
whole,
weird
like,
for
Which
her
is
because
kind
she's
of-
always the popular
Right,
girl.
but it's
right.
funny
Like,
because I was never found her that attractive. I know you have a redhead thing, but I never found her attractive. And she plays the dual role in Breakfast
Yeah.
Club as the princess
Mm-hmm.
and in 16 Candles as the kind of
the wallflower or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, she's in a
yeah.
lot of them. What's the other one with,
Ducky?
Ducky. She's in Pretty
Yeah,
in Pink.
Pretty in Pink.
I never really saw that one all the way through.
Yeah.
I
but-
would be more like, what's his face? I mean, Anthony Michael Hall was probably one of
Oh
my,
my God,
like,
he's so 80s.
he
We're in
was,
science.
well,
you go
that's
all
one of
like-
my other ones.
Oh,
Stop.
okay, sorry.
But he got so jacked in
I love it.
Edward
Out
Scissorhands
of
that I didn't
bounds.
even know it was
Oh.
him until I saw it like 5 times. Had no idea that was him.
Yeah.
And he
His
did
neck
get
got
buff.
big.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
looks like a football player now.
He thickened up a bit. But I think the thing about Major League for me is that was maybe being the jock or the sports kind of guy. that was really one of the first like sports movies that made me laugh all the way through. And I wasn't even fully getting the jokes back then as a kid. And it's one now where it's in our travel list of movies. So when we do road trips, travel, camp, or whatever,
Yeah,
Major
we bring
League is
that
in
one.
there. Like I can't ever still not
That's a
see
good
that
Charlie Sheen movie. There
too
you
many
go.
times.
Yeah, Wild Thing.
Wild
Absolutely.
Thing.
But Major League 2 was definitely a
I didn't
disappointment.
see that one.
Yeah,
See,
it's
I kind of refuse to watch it.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
afraid.
me too. That's what I
well,
mean. You
and
have
I
those
just didn't
sequels
give it a
that
good
come out.
Yeah.
recommendation right there
I
either.
mean, I kind of see Major League as timeless. I mean, yeah, it's made in the
too
80s.
high, too high.
Made in the 80s, but it really is a timeless story of sports underdoggedness. So I love it so much for so many reasons.
And the
But-
coach's voice. And he just
Right.
comes out naked.
I don't
and he's
know.
like, I don't have them.
I'm too old to go diving into a locker.
I'm tired of this
Hat
shit.
for back.
Classic baseball coach.
Tired of this
trope.
nickel and dime bullshit.
Joe Boo needs a bartender. Joe Boo needs a refill.
Although when we were watching and he was putting the Vaseline on the ball, I was like, do they really do that?
Uh-huh.
Like, I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
know with sports. I'm like,
Little-
yes,
little
not
jalapeno
rocking
up
it.
the
He's like
nose.
trying to make it. I'm like, do they do that?
If I need to, I
That's
slow
why-
the jalapeno right up in there.
If the ump's watching me real close, that's why every time there's a wild pitch, the ump takes that ball away and gives him a new ball because it may have been tampered with.
Interesting.
Every single wild pitch. Every time the catcher doesn't catch it, it goes to the ump.
I did
Like
not
there's
know
something
that.
wrong with that ball.
Interesting.
Possible.
Yeah, that movie shed that light because I was like, do they really
Yeah.
do that? I didn't know.
There was a handful of things that, I mean, it definitely, and I think when you mentioned influential, weirdly enough, that movie kind of was.
It really is. And it's one of the most quotable movies ever. We were just quoting
does
the other
have
day,
a
like,
lot.
some of these guys never had their prime. This guy here is dead.
Cross him off the
there.
list then.
So it was weird for me to watch it because I just watched it like a week ago for the first time because I knew it was going to be on the list for all you
Like, I
guys.
knew it was happening.
But it's weird to contextualize for me because like I think of those actors in different light.
Oh,
Like
Tom Berenger?
generational.
The substitute,
Well,
right?
Dennis Haybert too. I think of him.
Which one's
as,
he?
He's Pedro in
Yeah,
Major League.
okay.
He's
I think of him as
the
like, the
nationwide
guy
guy.
from 24 and like the insurance guy,
Yeah.
where he's like playing super serious roles, and it was weird for me. It's like he was young and he was in this comedy. Like, what is going on here? And Wesley Snipes too,
I was just gonna say,
'cause he
Wesley
was
Snipes, the
he was
runner,
more
he's
of
in
like an
bed.
action movie guy.
Yeah.
Like that's
Pastor
how I.
57.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to Blade and Pastor 57 and Money Train, I think, and White Men Can't. See, White
He's
Men
been
Can't
in
Dance
some good movies.
with
And
Woody
then
Harrelson.
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, White Men
obviously,
Can't Jump.
For my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
generation is 2.5 Men.
Yeah, that's true.
This
And
is
did,
before.
unfortunate.
did you even know who like
Craziness.
Corbin Benson and Tom Berenger were
Corbin
then?
Burnson.
Or Burnson?
He was
yeah.
LA Law, I think.
Yeah, I
for
think of
you.
him as more serious roles too.
He's
It's
like your
kind of
parents'
weird
your
how
parents'
that worked.
primetime guy.
It's kind of like
I used to
also a
love Tom
microcosm
Berenger.
of the industry, I guess. Is like you get popular in some like niche comedy movie, and then you start to get more serious roles.
Yeah. It,
It's
well,
a wait, what? Oh, that's a whole nother movie. Is it not Full Metal Jacket? What's the one
oh,
with
I love
Charlie
my Full
Sheen?
Metal
Charlie
Jacket.
Sheen was born on the 4th of July, or Platoon.
Oh, Platoon.
Yes.
That one is heart wrenching. Well, not that a lot of them are. but
That was an 80s
one.
movie. I mean, it's relevant.
Yeah. I'll never forget the.
Apocalypse
That's a whole
Now?
other movie when the
Apocalypse Now was a 70s movie.
so
And that was
horrible.
Martin Sheen.
Oh, that's right.
It's a good.
Wrong Sheen.
Wrong Sheen.
But there was a joke about that in Hot Shots Part 2. You remember that scene? Did you ever see Hot Shots Part 2? That
I
may
did,
have
but
made the 80s,
it's
it may have been the
vaguely.
90s.
I'll look it up real quick.
There was a scene where Charlie Sheen, who was in Hot Shots, of course, was on the boat in the river, and then he had a narration going on, and then it was covered up by Martin Sheen's narration from Apocalypse Now.
93 on that one.
And then the boats crossed, and they stood up and looked at each other, Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen, and said,
Right.
"I loved you in Wall Street." A very meta joke.
Oh, that's awesome.
You think it's going one way, Zen, and then it zags. So.
All right.
Back
Spinoff,
to
you
Tammy.
can't help. It goes back to the 90s.
Yeah. All right, we're back to
Well, I
you.
was going to say 16 Candles, but we already talked about it because I think we both relate it differently. Because the
You like
teenage
boobs,
girls.
too.
Well,
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Well, that one has
If you
a
want
lot
to
of
mention
lines.
Jake, I don't remember a lot of the plots, just the boobs and Farmer Ted. It was
Farmer
hilarious.
Ted. That's awesome. Well, we both relate to that one a little bit different. I'm going to go with I'm a huge John Candy fan. So there's a couple movies I'm gonna kind of link together a little bit because I said 5 and I was
It's
like, I've got
it's
like
an
20.
impossible task.
So I'm gonna go John Candy. So you got Great Outdoors, which is one of my freaking great favorites. I'm 4 beers in, 4 seltzers in, maybe close to that. Uncle Buck and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh
So
my
I'm
god, I'm not going to let you
linking all of
combine 3.
those.
No.
No, I can't.
One of those has Aykroyd and one of those has Martin, and you're just going to have to pick between
Well,
those.
the Great Outdoors,
I'll give you Uncle Buck, but you can't pair both the other movies with Uncle Buck.
All right.
You're going to have to pick Great Outdoors or Planes,
I
Trains.
think Great Outdoors I'm going to go with just because it just has so many, like the bear scene and the raccoon
lake scene and the- yes.
the eating the steak scene and just I wish he didn't die. Like he is just one of those actors that were amazing to me, and he is 80s to me.
Yeah, Mr. 80s, Mr. Cubs.
Oh.
Would
He is
you
Mr.
call him the
Cubs.
Chris
and Dan
Farley of the
Aykroyd with
80s?
him. I think that's with Dan Aykroyd, and granted I like Steve Martin a lot too. For the
I
other
loved
one, but-
Roman.
Oh,
Roman
I
was
forgot.
classic. What a pompous asshole he was.
But Great Outdoors just it's funny to me because we're campers. We like to now. Granted, they rented a cabin and we're more different.
They're glampers.
We're
They're
are
glampers
too.
doing the stand. Well, so are we.
They
But
had
yeah.
lobster tails for shit's sake.
That's true.
Well, you know what hot dogs are made of, right?
Yeah, that's assholes.
That's assholes.
My favorite Aykroyd scene in that whole thing was when he was trying to comfort his children by telling them that horrible story about the escaped mental patient from the army. Well, good night.
That movie, to me, I love that movie.
It's kind of one of those things where it almost feels like they don't make movies like that anymore.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
You can't get away with some of those things today.
Well, I think it's either
There's
action
nothing
or
offensive about
reality.
that movie
I think
now.
is more today. It seems like everyone's.
Well, it's not even about offensive. It's just about I don't know how to explain it. Like we were talking about how some kids movies in the 80s would be like rated PG-13
Yeah,
today.
that is true. That was
And
kind
some R-rated movies from the 80s would be like G-rated today. It's weird. Maybe they just
of. It was pointed out to me in researching this.
it's like
project
Top Gun.
that-
What would that be rated? That would probably be G-rated today.
I don't know it well.
I don't know,
enough.
man.
My
Except
for, like,
sister
a
was the
few
Top Gun
scenes.
I
fan.
think it depends on the sexual content.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pointed out to me that Breakfast Club, I believe, was rated PG-13 in the 80s. It would be a 9.
It would be
it would
totally
be an
R right now.
Right
Do you
now.
think so?
Yeah, I do.
Just because of the
Kids know
swearing.
much
The
more.
swearing, the pot.
Because Tipper Gore
but
happened
it's legal
and everything
here.
changed.
Yeah.
Tipper.
Yeah, we never undid Tipper Gore's influence on the MPAA.
I forgot about that.
So, yeah, what used to be a PG-13, and I used to, like I said, I snuck out of my room at night to watch Breakfast Club because of the swearing, but when my mom saw Stand By Me, she's like, you're going to watch that movie. Well, that was way more swearing, and I was just as young, but she saw the value in Stand By Me, and she let me watch it, because
Actually, that's on my list on this side.
What is that?
Well, I
Song?
was
That's
talking about
my-
kids
I
movies
love
like
it, but is it on my best?
Dark Crystal, Labyrinth,
Never-Ending Story, but I never saw the other ones.
Dude.
I never saw
Never-Ending
Neverending
Story I can talk
weirdly.
about.
I
I know the
tried
song.
to get her
Kaiju.
to watch it, and then the length of time for the movie scared her.
What's the length?
It was almost
Me?
3 hours.
Oh.
That's like normal nowadays.
Well, yeah, if you're watching Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or
Or
something. but-
anything with
Yeah,
any
it's fantasy.
Star Wars movies are all 3 hours long.
Okay,
love
they might
Star
be.
Wars.
There's
little
also
bit.
a lot of special effects that kind of keep you.
And,
Well,
and
I'll have to watch.
It's
The
like
thing about
watching
Never-Ending Story is
a
I-
TV show, like multiple binge watching a TV show, some 80s movies.
I grew up with Cocker Spaniels, and to this day I have Cocker Spaniels. And that dragon
The
looks
dragon
like a
dog,
Cocker Spaniel,
yes.
and I always
can see
loved
that.
that. The Luck Dragon.
yeah. Falcor?
That, and because I was such a sensitive kid, the horse dying in the sadness swamp was the most
I don't like
I don't like
devastating
animals
thing ever.
dying. Especially horses. That's my
Oh, and,
least.
and
oh my
it,
god.
they
Dogs
drag it
and
out, and you
horses.
just watch this thing go down, and it's hard. It's hard to swallow.
To
That's
this day, it is
definitely
hard to watch,
yeah.
and I've seen the making of, and I know how they.
Cause of a lot of childhood trauma for many.
Yeah.
But it's reality.
But at
I
the same
guess.
time, I had a huge crush on the princess.
Dude,
I
yeah.
had a dream once where I had to rescue that princess when I was a kid. Oh,
And
man.
the fact that you still remember it is awesome.
Oh, I don't remember a lot of my dreams because the ones I do remember, they're pretty realistic. But I don't dream often. And so I remember a lot of the ones that really hit me. Oh, I remember that dream very
Tipper
well.
Gore is trying to censor a lot of Matt's dreams, is what we're
God, she
saying.
did that.
I hope she has a kid like me.
Kids knew way more today, so I don't understand why some of that, like,
Oh, that was a
I
misfortunate
learned
part of
very
timing
early
growing up,
on.
but-
When Aiden was about 1.5 or 2, I took him to a Padres versus Milwaukee Brewers game. So I learned early on that you can't protect him from swear words. I mean, there were some foul-mouthed people all
kids are
around
gonna
us.
Sneak it. Like you just said, you would
And
sneak
so-
certain movies.
Yeah. And I don't even know if I had to. My parents might not have cared. I didn't ask. I just would sneak out because it was fun to sneak downstairs and watch Breakfast Club or Child's Play or something, the midnight movie on HBO.
Yeah.
I was-
Because it felt forbidden and I wasn't supposed to do it.
Well, I lived in the country, so we didn't even have cable. So we had the freaking dial. Like so I couldn't sneak movies, but I would spend the night at my friends who had cable, and then we would watch actually I have Blue Lagoon on here, which is a stupid. I
Yes,
know.
Brooke Shields, very influential.
I
in young
know,
Matt's
but that
life,
was.
yes.
I always thought she was beautiful. She's so pretty.
What was that one George Burns movie she was in where she was literally naked in the trunk of a car?
Oh my god.
Or was it John Denver? It might have been Oh God, I don't know.
Oh god.
It might
Oh my
have
god,
been.
is that 70s? Oh god, you
There was like
devil,
3
or-
of them.
Oh god.
There were 2 or 3 of them. I don't remember the year. I just remember watching a movie where a very young Brooke Shields gets
Yeah.
out of the trunk of a car naked, and
We have to look up the age because I think
I
that's.
think it was
oh
George
god,
Burns'
you-
car.
Oh god, what is it called though?
because John Denver was in the movie with him. Oh God, wasn't he? He
Oh,
was
God,
he was the
devil. I
model.
can't remember the titles, but we watched that as a kid. Those were my parents. They
Yeah.
would watch that. But I would go to my friend's house and we could watch cable, and that's where we watched Blue Lagoon because they would
Mm-hmm.
actually show nudity. And I think that was my first penis.
And Blue Lagoon showed a penis.
I don't know.
Oh my
Maybe it
god, my
was
first
Caveman.
boner!
Because
Might
my
have been
first,
Caveman with Ringo Starr.
because I think
can't
my
remember.
first penis might have been like Water for Chocolate. Like, did they just show a guy's penis? Full
Or the
frontal.
piano? What
yeah.
year was that? That was
I did
pretty
not
90s.
watch Harvey Keitel in the piano.
Yeah, I don't want to see
because
his penis.
because in the movie Loser with Jason Silverman, David Spade says, so you don't want to rent the piano. Harvey Keitel's penis. Harvey Keitel is half penis. Even on a small screen,
yeah.
you'll look bad or something.
Maybe I just appreciated Brooke. She was beautiful.
To watch
She is
movies for us, it was kind of like when The Babysitter was coming, so my parents would take us to the
Oh, that's a
Blockbuster.
good movie too.
And Babysitter? Yeah.
Babysitter Adventures in
It-
Babysitting.
yeah, I had.
Elizabeth Shue.
I was just gonna say I had
Oh.
a thing for Elizabeth Shue for
She
a
was
bit too.
gorgeous.
But
She is
Keitel?
gorgeous. Yes.
yes,
And Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh,
And The
that's
Saint,
Nicolas
but-
Cage.
And
That
all I
one's
can-
hard to watch because he.
And now, whenever
drink-
you say her name, all I can see is her sitting in the shower with blood coming out of her anus. That's
Woof.
I hope it was a
no, I
hemorrhoid.
mean that in a good way. That's what I think of it now.
It was good blood. Okay.
She's all grown up from the '80s. That's for damn sure.
She is really cute.
At least it wasn't the little girl with the winged helmet
Oh.
sitting in
I wonder
a
who she is.
shower with blood coming out of her anus.
That's true.
that could have
That's
been.
pedophile-ish.
Yeah. That's a whole different story.
But that's Kubrick. He's more of the '70s.
Michael
Alright.
Jackson was big in the 80s.
Yeah,
Also
speaking
a
of that,
pedophile. Speaking of pedophiles.
It's related.
But he was a
content.
homosexual pedophile. And had no interest in an Elizabeth Shue conversation.
probably
Best.
not.
We're still on the list of best.
Yeah.
I would have to say Terminator.
Terminator.
When you think of it in terms of special effects, kind of kickstart James Cameron's career and
For
Arnold's,
better or for worse.
and Arnold's career.
Arnold was around. He was
Yeah.
established at that point.
I think this was when Arnold started going more,
More
like
blockbuster
yeah,
level.
yes,
like
he,
next
reached-
level.
he
Action
took
film.
Action Hero to a whole new level with that.
Because he was in Conan, and that was kind of like his first.
I take it back. My first penis was Arnold Schwarzenegger's penis.
Oh.
I forgot-
When he was a
I forgot
bodybuilder,
there was
he had
some,
Was it a
naked-
steroid little penis?
No, he's doing okay.
there was some nudity in Terminator too. I don't think there was penis, but there was
No,
some full
yeah, there was
body
definitely
Arnold
butt.
in-
There was butt,
in-
but no, there's a famous
He did the
photo of
side
him as
naked.
the muscle builder, bodybuilder that he was, but posing naked. Yeah, there's a famous like cardboard cutout
Interesting.
of it. So
I think my
So
first
Terminator.
penis was probably out of a Playboy.
you were looking at Playgirl. You
No,
gotta
no,
read
no,
the
no,
whole
no,
cover.
no. I'm like cartoon wise. Because
Cartoon
sometimes,
penis?
yeah.
Playboy.
I don't count.
That's not
I
real
don't
penis.
count.
No, like-
yeah, I don't count cartoon.
Yeah, I don't either.
penises.
I can draw you a
Okay,
penis.
real. I don't want to really think about it though. Anyway, we're totally trumping on his
Terminator,
Terminator.
Trump is also huge in the 80s.
Except his penis, still very tiny.
Still very tiny. But to him, it's huge.
You've
yeah.
never seen
Tiny
anything like
hands.
it.
I'll be honest, the second Terminator was better
I
for
liked
me.
all of them.
I feel like.
I have to
right.
watch.
What was that, 90s? or
I
was
don't
that
think
still
so.
80s?
I don't know. I could look it up.
I think what I liked about Terminator is I liked that they made her really buff and muscular, and it made it like
Yeah.
a strong, even though she was weak and strong, kind of presented, because obviously her roommate fucking died because of her.
Whoa.
She
Way to
did.
go dark on it.
Well, they went for her, or he did, killed her, right? Right, Terminator. And then she was all. Is the second one she was?
The
like,
second
really
one
buff,
is in
though?
91, so yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
But I can see what you're saying, Tammy. It's kind of like that strong female.
Wait,
Yeah,
isn't
I
that
like
the one
that.
where the one chick had 3 tits?
No, that's
That
Fifth
was-
Element, isn't it?
No.
Fifth Element was definitely 90s.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. That was a great movie. Anyway, we digress. I swear there was a chick with 3 tits in one of the
Well, that's Paul.
Terminators ones.
Oh.
And Paul. But I guess there's a handful of
And a
movies
cartoon
with chicks with
penis.
3 tits.
All right, now.
They haven't added the letter to the acronym for that one.
Yeah,
I have
right.
3 tits and a penis. I'm not LGBTQQLMN or Q or R. I don't
Is it
know.
like a worm? They can fuck themselves.
Could be.
I'll concede the floor to Matt.
Right?
Well, jumping off of your Arnold thing, I was thinking about Terminator because I knew it was going to come up, and Die Hard, but I was never an action fan as a kid. I was pure comedy, pure tits. So it was, for me, as far as Arnold Schwarzenegger goes, it's the movie Twins with
Yes.
Danny DeVito.
Yes.
That one's
Phenomenal
good
movie.
too.
Yes.
Love it.
That, I mean, yeah, I have to.
Because for me, it's all things comedy. It's always, I was always seeking out comedies. I never cared for sci-fi. I never cared for fantasy, except The Never-Ending Story. I never saw the other ones that you mentioned. But Arnold as a twin of Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
Could
that
be.
one's a good one.
Speaking of should be a sequel, there's
Yeah.
supposed to have been one. And they've been
Junior
talking
was
about that for
kind of a
years.
sequel in a
I
spiritual
refused
way.
to see that one as well. I will take a stand against movies, not for them, but against them.
Was-
Like, I will
was-
not see the Junior.
Oh, that was Kindergarten Cop because we had that whole it's not a tumor.
It's
like
not a
that.
tumor.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that whole. But Junior was kind of bad. Twins was
I didn't
really
see
good.
Junior.
Twins
But
was,
Twins was really good.
you forgot the first rule of conflict. Wait, was it conflict negotiation?
Yes, I think.
There's always there's the first, second, and third rule, and the third rule is a chain's gonna fall on your head. There's a guy with a lot on his mind. That movie was so fun.
Danny DeVito was pretty good too. Like that was a good pairing because
Yeah.
you had the extreme of.
Right. It would be like Shaq and
Bugs Bunny?
well, that would be Space Jam.
I know. It's the only thing. Well, Shaq was a genie, and I
What's
didn't want to
the-
mention that.
Yeah.
Rabbit
Shazam.
movie.
Oh, Who
Just
Framed
Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit?
Oh, that's
That
a
is
great
80s.
one.
Is that 80s?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that
For
might
a
be the
cartoon,
only
she's
one.
pretty hot.
Speaking of
Yeah.
cartoon
Jessica Rabbit?
penises,
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. It's a great line. It's a great line.
Although if you go with sexual movie, I think of Rob Zombie's
Oh, Rob Zombie did one, not 80s at all because it's like
The Meatball.
yeah, it's El Super Bisto.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
It's one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. And yeah, Rob Zombie wrote and directed, had his wife be a
Is the
part of
voice
it.
of the
She's
girl.
she's one of the main antagonist or protagonists. But it is a really good movie. Totally Rob Zombie, but
Yeah.
but also
Did-
really funny. Like it's not like dark and a whole lot of murder, but
Did Rob Zombie do Strangeland, or was that D. Snyder?
I have no
I
idea.
didn't know
Because
he
I
did anything.
saw the. Maybe he only acted. D. Snyder might have been in Strangeland, and it might have been a Rob
that.
Zombie movie. It was 90s at any rate, but that may be the only Rob Zombie I've ever seen.
I love Rob Zombie.
The Adventures of El Super Bisto. If you can ever find it, it's worth it.
It is.
It's definitely It's spicy meatball. Oh yeah. Anyway.
What's your next 80s?
All right. Weird Science.
Oh, I have that on my list.
Now there's a shower scene. Are there tits in that?
Oh, there's tits.
There's tits.
Okay. And what's her name again? Rebecca.
Kelly LeBrock.
Kelly
Yep.
LeBrock.
Yes.
Yeah, she's okay. I never was.
No,
over
she
the moon.
wasn't like.
If
I actually
that same
liked
exact
one
time
of the.
period, I was all about Samantha Fox and Christy Brinkley from
Oh,
Vacation.
Christy
Ooh,
Brinkley.
Christy
From
Brinkley.
Vacation,
She's
yes.
still.
Yeah.
I think
She's
I just
still
added-
got it.
amazing.
I think I just added Vacation to my list.
So
I saw her in overalls, and not a lot of women can carry that, and she still can. Like she.
I follow Christy Brinkley on Instagram, and she's still killing it. She's murdering it.
How about a follow back, Christy Brinkley?
All right. I think this was partially my bit of like Anthony Michael Hall. Really kind of just enjoying a lot of his movies. And then the Big Brother bit with
Chet.
Oh,
Chet.
Chet.
Yeah.
I named it Cat.
That was Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
Paxton.
I love
Yeah, Bill
him.
Paxton.
Paxton.
Yes.
I didn't know until I watched it a
Yeah.
few years ago that was Bill Paxton as Chet.
And the fact
So
when she
good.
turns him into a pile of shit is just epic because you don't
what is
see
that one
that
saying?
anymore.
Serve a greasy and a dirty, a greasy or something on a dirty ashtray. Is the one because they were all
Oh.
hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact
Can't
verbiage,
remember.
but
Yeah,
I remember the
but I
scene.
remember
Yeah.
he's like, He's
Yeah.
That was
he was
also.
such a dick.
And that's also a little bit of like the Robert Downey Jr. cameos.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
Bad Boy Robert Downey Jr. He was a villain in the '80s.
Oh my God, I
much
love
like yeah,
Robert Downey Jr.
him and Billy Zabka were the bad guys of the '80s. Dropping was it a Coke on his head? from
Less
the
than
second-
zero.
Oh, no,
one
it
of
was
my
an icy.
favorites of,
Icy,
Robert
yeah.
Downey Jr.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that was, but
Wow.
Should we pivot to bad ones?
We could throw a few bad ones in there. What do you got is on your bad list,
my
Tam?
bad list.
Because I don't see a whole lot of bad ones there.
My bad list. I didn't really like the creepy ones, so like I have Cujo and
Oh.
Pet Cemetery.
What-
Even though there's
That's
some.
two Stephen Kings right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind
I
of.
do like Stephen King, like The Shining. I don't
That's
like
seven-
animals turning bad.
70s, I
Cujo's
think.
not.
Shining was '70s, wasn't it?
Yes.
Which one?
The
Shining.
Shining.
Yeah, that's why I didn't write that one.
Well,
But
Stephen King
he
also
said Stephen
hated that
King,
movie.
but I have Cujo.
Stephen
I
King.
didn't watch the full movie just because I didn't like that the dog was
Doesn't
evil.
that have Jonathan Pintoro in it? From Who's the Boss?
He was in
Oh
it.
fuck!
He's the little boy from Who's
Speaking
the
of that,
Boss.
they're doing another Who's the Boss.
Oh God, no!
Oh God, no! Isn't
Tony Danza and Alyssa
Judith
Milano.
Light.
she's in it?
Is-
They're gonna do it,
I do have a soft spot for Alyssa Milano.
right?
I like
Who
her,
doesn't?
too. Well, I like the only thing I.
Well, we
she's
already know
beautiful.
that Matt is just rating movies off of boobs.
I have boobs.
Did you ever see the porn
She
she
was
did?
a child in the '80s, though. I couldn't exactly.
But
She
say
did a
that.
softcore
Actually-
porn.
I actually had a huge Drew Barrymore fan. That was like one of the
Oh, I
first
like
crushes
Drew
I
Barrymore.
remember was Drew Barrymore from Firestarter. And keep in mind, we're about the same age. So I was also 6. But I had a huge crush on Drew Barrymore.
See,
in
mine
the
was
80s.
Christina Ricci.
Christina Ricci from The
Yeah.
Addams Family.
Yeah,
I did
Casper,
enjoy.
Christine. I still dig her, but yeah.
I only saw her in The Addams Family.
I mean, I would put Amy Adams above her right now, but
Who's
that's
Amy Adams? What's she in?
Superman's girly friend, Lois Lane.
Oh, she's great.
I only know Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane.
Yeah, that's
she's
not a
alright.
bad choice there, but I would definitely.
now I feel
Amy
Marcus-
Adams.
I put Superman 4 on my worst list.
I didn't see.
Wait,
I
was she
saw
in
only
that
the
one?
first one.
No,
Which one was she in?
the newer ones.
The Terry
Oh,
Hatcher one?
yeah.
But some of the Superman 80s movies were pretty bad,
I remember
especially
loving
special
the-
effects wise
Yeah.
and like story. And when you compare them to how superhero movies are today, the just blockbusters.
That's unfortunate. You
and-
can't help that though, because they didn't have the technology then.
But you can like have a decent story too,
Yeah,
though.
that's
I don't know. Look at Star Wars.
Huh?
I mean, Star Wars was doing some shit way ahead of their time in late '70s, early '80s.
And the Michael Keaton Batman was an 80s movie,
89.
Kim
it
Basinger
barely
in that
made
one,
it.
right?
Yeah, Kim
Yeah.
Basinger.
Yeah,
but those were pretty good, especially in comparison. I think Superman 4 was 89 also, though. Or
Might
they were
have been.
pretty close. So
I remember
when you
really
compare the
liking
two, it's night and day. And they're both DC, so it's like...
Which
what
one
is
did they
it?
fight on the moon? Was that four?
I can't remember.
Because apparently Richard Pryor was in one of them, and I don't remember that either. But I only
I don't
remember watching
that
number
at
one.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't either.
Yeah,
I didn't watch 4.
I don't-
I only watched
think
one.
I just
kinda, yeah,
remember that was one of those that they would marathon on like UPN.
That's what I
And,
watched
like,
when
these are
nothing
so
else is
bad.
on.
Yeah,
Right,
like
yeah.
noon on a Saturday as a
Uh.
kid. And you're like, I guess I'll watch this. There's nothing else on antenna TV.
Yeah.
You're like, these are so bad.
So the equivalent of that for me in the 80s as a kid would be like the giant insect attacked movies, where it would be like obviously a model with a tarantula
That's
walking across.
funny.
It's supposed to be 150 feet tall.
Well,
Like,
that's
that-
the other
that-
thing
that
you have
belongs on
to think
UPN on
about
a tour.
in terms of special effects. Is like, the Godzilla movies weren't that bad, and those were made in like the 60s.
I've never actually seen a Godzilla movie, but I can tie that to the 80s and say One Crazy Summer was a fucking awesome
Oh,
movie.
One Crazy Summer. I forgot about
One
that
Crazy
one.
Summer had a Godzilla parody part in it, where Bobcat Goldthwait is stomping
Oh,
Model City
man.
when he's stuck in a
Right.
Godzilla costume that can't be unzipped.
That's hilarious.
More people need to know Bobcat Goldthwait.
Right?
Because people
Too
say
soon,
Patrick
man, too
Mahomes
soon.
sounds like Kermit the Frog, and I was like, no, he sounds like
He was
Bobcat
in Police
Goldthwait.
Academy too, wasn't Bob?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Bobcat Goldthwait. He's also used to be at least a regular on NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. He's still in his prime. You know,
Oh
he's
my
still
God.
funny.
Yeah.
He's actually a director now, and he does some interesting
That's
movies.
awesome. I didn't know that. I know him more from the Police Academy and stand up and certain
Yeah.
things.
And he doesn't really do the voice anymore.
Oh, the
I
cracker.
don't, even if you ask him, I don't
Oh,
think
really?
he'll, I don't think.
He's
I
like,
think
don't
he's
wanna be
moved
that.
on.
Well, he
He
doesn't.
has
Yeah.
like the classic NPR voice now, and
Well,
you
he's
don't even know it's the
yeah.
same person.
He just sounds like himself without the screaming now, but he doesn't really do the shtick anymore.
Right.
But whose turn is it now? Because I
Yours.
can leapfrog right off of.
Brendan's doing what I've been wanting to do this past hour,
You
is
gotta-
just emptying
gotta-
the tank.
You gotta handle. You gotta handle yourself off mic.
That's right.
At least Brendan's quick about it.
We might have
But
to
I can-
marathon it.
I can leapfrog right off of One Crazy Summer and tell you a movie that I absolutely love is Better Off Dead.
Oh!
Better Off Dead with John Cusack is
Yeah.
one of my all-time favorite movies.
But we were supposed to be on.
That's
I
worst
don't
good.
have
movies.
any. I didn't know we were supposed to come up with movies we
That's
hate.
okay. That's okay.
That's okay, but that one's actually a really good one. I forgot about that one.
I just went with influential, and that
Better Off
movie
Dead.
Yeah.
was so funny. I love when the guy who plays Booger in Revenge of the Nerds, which I also thought of bringing up, but a little rapey. That movie doesn't age well, right?
No. that's-
Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds is
good.
both,
fun.
two of them. The second
Lamar.
one was pretty good too.
But rape, like it literally. The
Porky's
revenge
was bad.
The revenge is raping the hot chick that wronged him was his revenge.
Yeah,
So it
that's
really,
true. He
it's
did,
really
'cause
hard
he had
to.
the helmet on.
it's
and the
really
mask.
hard
He's
to
just
champion.
Like,
Yes.
it was me.
And she fell in love with him because the sex was so good. But yeah,
That's true.
It is really hard to champion that movie now. Also, the hidden camera panty raid stuff was
Yeah.
totally felonious. There's a lot of that movie that you cannot really
You're
do
right.
today.
You go back in the
You're
time
right.
like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Porky's too.
I never saw Porky's. Bill Murray, was he in that?
I don't remember.
Maybe not.
No.
Anyway, he might have been a
Porky's
camp
just reminded
counselor.
me of like a more vulgar version of Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
But I think
But the guy who played Booger, he did. One of my favorite lines is he snorts a mountain snow like cocaine, and he's like, I can't feel my right arm. Do you have any idea what the street value of this mountain is?
That's awesome.
But he was always, there's a very subtle joke, it was subtle to me as a kid in the 80s, where they were in the shopping supermarket talking, and Booger says, this
I
town,
like how Booger says.
he's like, this little town, I can't even get real drugs here. Then there's a wine shop, and he's buying like 30 cans of Ready whipped cream.
oh for Whippets.
Yeah.
It's a very subtle joke. You don't get
I
a lot of
love-
that very
Yeah.
much
That's a
anymore.
good one.
Nowadays, it seems like they kind of hit you over the head with, this is what I meant. This is a drug joke. Get it?
Yeah.
Whippets. Ha 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 ha. So I just love that movie, and the director of that movie. That movie was supposed to be one movie with One Crazy Summer, but it grew to be its own thing. So those two movies are kind of related in that they were supposed to be intertwining stories, and then they're just like, this is an awesome movie all by itself. So John Cusack got to play in two
I
movies.
love him too. He's one of my favorites. I love his sister too.
Yeah, Joan is
John and
pretty
Joan.
fucking
Oh my
funny.
God, they're awesome.
We were
She's
just
in
watching
16 Candles.
yeah. School of the Rock the other day, and it
Yeah.
was kind of
And I
But,
just watched High Fidelity. Most
Love that movie.
most conversations about the 80s I've had with my friends in the last week have spun off into John Cusack in the 90s because he really did own the 90s, you know?
More so than
His
other
sister
actors,
too.
absolutely.
She was
yeah.
involved a lot because she
Yeah.
was in 16 Candles and
Was
she
she? Oh, yeah, the mixers.
She had the little,
Yes, she had-
She'd go to the water fountain. And she's like, I'll just take this. I love her.
All right. I'll steal it a little bit because I got at least one that was really just bad to me,
I'm bad.
and I wanted to like it. Urban Cowboy.
I never saw Urban Cowboy. John Travolta, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Other than Grease, I wasn't a huge
was-
Travolta fan.
Such a huge disappointment because as someone who kind of liked the westerns at the time and even some country ties, it was just a really bad love story and a really bad movie. And the fact that like Travolta's career has exploded since then
Because of Tarantino.
blows me away.
Because of Tarantino. And it really didn't. It was revived for Tarantino and then it went away
You think
again.
Pulp Fiction did that?
Absolutely. I think John Travolta actually admitted that. Like, Quentin Tarantino is what I owe Pulp Fiction and Michael, and what else did he do in the late 90s? Because he had a good run.
He did that one movie that he did Face Off. What year
Face
was
Off.
that?
Oh,
Nick
Face Off
Cage,
was decent.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
He did that other one with the
Swordfish was kind of good.
Is it Chris Pine?
Get
in it?
Shorty.
The French one, Paris.
Oh, From Paris with
From
Love.
Paris, he did.
Yeah, he did Catfish. What was it? There's something about a shark. There's like.
Oh,
I never saw any of these
Yeah, I
movies,
didn't see-
but John Travolta had a hell of a good run.
right. But I think you're right. I think Pulp Fiction.
Based on Pulp
kinda,
Fiction.
Yep.
But yeah, he was famous for being awesome at dancing.
Which they
Was
did
he?
that in Urban
He's
Cowboy,
Welcome
and
Back
that's
Kotter.
just it.
Yeah.
Awesome at
70s.
dance. Have you seen Saturday Night Fever? He was a fantastic dancer.
Yeah, but I have an issue with disco.
Okay. Look who's talking. He danced in that too.
He danced in all of these
Oh,
movies.
That's what he was
talking,
famous
that's
for.
80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was more of a Kirstie Alley fan at that point than I was.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Christy
she
Alley
was-
gorgeous.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Cheers
I never
and
thought
Look Who's
she
Talking.
was.
Oh,
This
yeah.
song
You
was-
never thought she was
I
gorgeous.
did.
Really?
Absolutely.
Have you
did.
go back and
Cheers,
watch?
I
Go back
like-
and watch her.
I would
as
rather
an adult
watch-
now. Watch her main entrance in the first episode of Cheers that she's on, where she walks
Yes.
through the front door.
We just did.
She's a stunner.
Yeah.
I think she's prettier than Shelley Long.
Yeah, I was just
who
going to
is
say
the
over
other
Shelley Long
heartthrob
in a
for Ted
heartbeat.
Danson.
In a heartbeat.
But I mean, maybe it's her whininess from the show that would drive me crazy.
What, and Shelley
That's
Long's
what I
was
loved.
better?
Well, I didn't like
I
her
loved
either.
how well she played that loser, though. That was my
Yeah,
favorite
that's true.
thing.
Although that's another 80s movie with Shelley Long and Bette Midler. What
Oh.
movie was that?
Hello again.
Oh my God, there's one movie that was
You said Bette
hilarious.
Midler, and I thought of Beaches.
Yeah, that wasn't Shelley Long. but
No.
A couple of good ones. With
I didn't know
Bette Midler.
she ever got to act with Bette Midler, but I do remember.
Well, Shelley
Hello-
Long did.
I do
don't
remember
know about
Hello
Kirstie.
Again.
Yeah.
Hello Again was Shelley Long, and Money Pit was basically her entire film career.
Yeah.
Alicia Silverstone has had more of a film career since
I think
Clueless.
she's pretty.
Ooh,
Yeah.
woof.
No
I was
comments.
thinking of Batman Forever, which was just a
Oh, that was a bad
it's
one,
like
too.
all-time awful movie.
Too bad that wasn't
Oh,
in the
that had like
80s.
the Riddler, right? And Poison
Yeah, that was
Ivy.
the Jim Carrey
Uma
one.
Thurman
Yeah.
was
What was
Poison
she now?
Ivy.
Yeah.
She was Batgirl.
She was
A
Batgirl.
Batgirl.
And she
I
just
would
like
not.
got
I
all
refuse
clingy.
to see
and-
that too.
Yeah.
We actually went to a drive-in theater, and that was the double feature, and we left before that movie
Yeah,
happened.
that one.
Oh, wow.
It didn't. It's not a movie you watch. It's a movie that happens to you. And we had tank gas in the tank and able to drive away.
Oh, man,
We
that
took
almost might have to be the
opportunity.
tagline for this show. It's not a movie you'll watch. It's a movie that happens to you.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
Oh, man. Well, do you want
Be proud
to,
of that.
I'm like, I don't want to waste my time with it, apparently.
as we continue to go around the circles, do you want to
Guilty
talk
pleasure?
about... We could bring up the guilty pleasure ones as we're kind of rolling in on that hour mark. Go for it, then.
Well, mine is, I'm a huge Grease fan, which we obviously is in the 70s.
We were just
which
talking
is
Travolta, yeah.
But
Funny
Grease,
how they're all related,
they're all,
right?
well, I know,
They're
I
all
didn't even
linked
think it would be
together.
Kevin Bacon.
Instead
but
of
it's
like
not.
the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's
But
the 6
Grease
Degrees of
too.
80s
Yeah,
movies.
it's just the 80s had 23 actors, and that's all. That's it.
But Grease 2 was probably my guilty pleasure. Loved it.
Grease 2 had
And
that one beautiful Girl
Michelle
for All
Pfeiffer
Seasons.
is
The song that Girl for All Seasons became like
Awesome.
her solo when everything went dark. as after she
And
thought
she
the
was a
guy
Christmas
died.
tree.
Yeah. And she was singing
a good movie.
about the Australian guy that died.
Yep.
That was supposed to be Sandy's cousin, right? Because they tried to link part 1 and part 2 by
That's true.
having
Well,
him.
Frenchie was in it.
Yeah, but they also made the guy also Australian. He's like, oh, I was
Yeah.
cousins with Sandy,
Yeah.
remember, from Olivia
Yeah.
Newton-John?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
So
it's
you can
cheesy.
watch this movie too.
She wanted a cool rider.
Yes.
I could sing the whole song.
Cool Rider, that might be the song. But there was a song that
No,
was just
the
heart-
season one's different
Yeah.
with the tree.
It was one after he died, and it
Yep.
went.
Well, she
Everything went
thought he
black.
died. He
Everything
didn't
went.
die.
Yeah. It was spoiler alert.
It was almost like
He drove
Broadway-esque.
off, and she thought he died.
But she was doing Girl for All Seasons with the choir, and then everything went black, and she sang this beautiful song.
See, Michelle Pfeiffer.
I don't know that she actually sang it, but the song was beautiful, and it was a beautiful. I have an older sister, and Top Gun, Grease 2 were all forced down my throat, and I really enjoyed Grease and Grease
It's the movie
2.
you were forced to watch.
I liked the first Grease. The second one I didn't.
Well, that's what I'm
kinda
saying.
thought it
It's
was
one of
pretty
those
okay.
that was not a lot of people have seen, but
Yeah.
it's my guilty pleasure. I
There's
could
also
sing
some
almost every
weird
song.
fan theories. Is like the second movie was like a dream sequence from the first movie. I've seen that. It's weird.
Yeah, this one was definitely more cheesy. Like you said, they tried to link the two, and it didn't kind of work out. But like for some reason, like one of my best friends, like we loved it, and we wanted a cool rider.
Really? Because now when I see guys on motorcycles,
Which
I
is
think,
funny.
what a
No,
prick.
and I've never been a motorcycle person, so it's fine. I rode my first motorcycle
2 years
Two
ago?
years ago.
The day I
I won't
rode my
say
first
how old I am,
motorcycle and the
but
day I crashed my first motorcycle were the same day.
Wow.
They're hard to ride.
Yeah.
Just saying. I
You
mean,
weren't a cool writer.
there was
No,
no,
I
it
just
wasn't.
wrapped around
But
and
neither
was
was
scared.
that kid because there was a montage of him learning how to do it, and he crashed a lot in that
I
field.
crashed a lot.
I crashed in my friend's backyard, but he crashed a lot too. Like,
That's awesome.
I always kept forgetting to clutch when I braked, so I would stall it, and then 450-pound motorcycle would fall over on me,
Oh, jeez.
and all I could do was jump. That's really all you can do in that situation. Like, I can't stop it from falling. It weighs 450 pounds.
Well, they make Groms now, which is like
Little
much,
mini bikes.
much smaller and a lot lighter. And I learned to.
And you can only go like 40,
Yeah,
50.
well, the top
the
is
top.
65
Oh.
if you're really pushing it. But that was an easier way to learn to drive a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Because I kind of had the same issue at first, was forgetting. More for me, it was the gears 1 and 2 are down, and then 3 and 4 are up. And then so I would get to a stoplight, and you have to shift down.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there fucking around with my feet trying to figure out what gear am I in. But anyway,
Now, when I lived in Thailand,
Yeah.
I did drive I think it was called a Honda Dream, which is basically a Vespa, but Honda's Vespa. And that was a clutchless manual. So you would shift with your hand, but you didn't have to clutch. So it's not fully automatic, it's not fully standard. But it didn't stall and fall the fuck over on me. That's the point.
But it's
I
also
crashed.
like-
I crashed that Honda Dream because I was drunk, not because I didn't know how to ride it.
But like you said, it's only probably like 50 cc's.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're in Thailand. You're not going anywhere fast. It's pretty
Faster
much
than walking.
it's pretty much traffic. Yeah, faster than walking. It can carry a family of 7 on some occasions, I
Yeah.
believe.
Now, as a kid, that was my, like, yeah, but as an adult, not so much a motorcycle. His cousin took me on one, and I was terrified. I just raked it around.
well, you also went 150, 160
Yeah.
miles an
Jesus
hour on the
Christ.
highway.
Totally, yeah.
And he did
I
a
just
wheelie
remember
at one
visor
point.
going
Yeah.
down. He linked my hands, and I just held on. I was like, something's happening.
Yeah, no.
Something's happening that most of the people have
And
ever
all I could think of
experienced.
was like, this is Brendan's cousin. He won't hurt me. He won't hurt me. I swear. Will he hurt me? Because we're going really fucking fast.
Well, let's see. Brendan's pretty dumb, so how knows?
Oh, wait. Speaking of motorcycles, there were some motorcycle scenes in my guilty pleasure. Not many, though, but there was.
Well, it's Martha's guilty.
Well, do you have a guilty pleasure?
Oh, there's a motorcycle scene in mine too.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I
Watch
cheated
that.
with mine because I chose a theme, and it was 80s movies where Kenny Loggins did the soundtrack.
Oh,
Footloose.
So Footloose,
Yeah.
Caddyshack, Top Gun.
Oh, Caddyshack.
I
It's a
cannot
good one.
tell you how much I hated Footloose. And I
I
only
didn't like
just
Footloose. That's on my worst list.
I
That's mine
only
too.
Funny.
I only just watched it about 3 weeks ago. My son and I we do a riff tracks at home. Like we'll watch bad movies and we'll just rip
Oh,
the
Mystery
shit out of
Science
them.
Theater 3000, like.
We will MSTK 3000 a
Yes.
movie. We'll have a movie night pretty much every week, and it's either like, hey, stop it, it's serious, or let's just tear this one apart. We watched Footloose a few weeks ago, and it's just so bad.
I appreciate you because I think we're the only two. Because I think a lot of people would have that on their.
No, I have it on.
Although you just said it for
And
the
you
worst
guys-
too, so that's three of
They
us.
remade it though too.
You guys follow John Mulaney, and he has a one skit where he has the
anything he
jukebox, and
Yes.
he puts What
The
New
Tom
Pussycat.
Jones.
Yes.
Pussycat.
I do
like
that with
11 times or whatever.
I do that with Kenny Loggins songs. If there's a jukebox in a bar, I'll do like 10
wouldn't work
Danger
on me.
Zones and then one Footloose.
That's hilarious.
That makes me want to go
And
to
it
Gunther
works the
Tootie's.
same way.
Because I think Gunther Tootie's is the only place that still has one.
What's up, pussycat?
So, do you have a specific one out of those, or just anything that
Well,
has?
I
Footloose
think
is
Danger
opposite.
Zone.
Oh, Danger Zone.
Danger Zone is
So that's Top Gun.
is classic, and then you do 10
For
Danger
worst.
Zones and then one Footloose.
All right.
Are
Well,
you going by music or movie though?
Both.
Oh, all right.
Do you
again,
got
I
one?
didn't know we were doing guilty pleasure, so I'm just going to throw my last two because you can't talk about the 80s without talking about the Corys, and I chose
Yes.
License to Drive.
That's on mine
that's
too.
an
The
amazing.
Corys.
The Corys. I loved the Corys, especially Haim,
Yeah.
because she leave it to me to pick the self-destructive, now dead one.
I actually
Yes,
thought
exactly.
he was
I was the
cuter
same
one
way.
Of the two, I have to say.
I thought he was the cooler one of the
I
two.
did too.
I thought Feldman was just riding his coattails.
Yeah.
I mean, he held his own in Lost Boys, but I didn't choose
Oh,
Lost
that's-
Boys
I
because I
actually have
chose.
Lost Boys on mine
Yeah.
too.
But License to Drive was more influential, and Heather Graham, is she
Yes.
a vampire?
Oh,
'Cause
dude.
holy shit, how long has she been hot? Since like
Since
87?
ever. Yes.
Come
From
on.
that movie to now.
What movie
Like,
is she in with roller skates?
oh,
Dirk
God.
Diggler? What movie's that?
She's in Bowfinger, but I don't know about.
No,
No,
Dirk
no, no, no,
Diggler.
no, no.
Boogie
That's
Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. She's in that.
Yeah, and she's in Bowfinger from the early 2000s.
That's a
She looks
gross
every bit as hot as she does in 1980, whatever License to Drive
And
was.
Yeah.
she's also in with Robert Downey Jr. because I'm a huge fan of his. Where it threesome, it's him and 2
You're
other
a huge
girls.
fan of
and-
threesomes?
But-
Wild
She's
Things.
just now
Only
telling
with
me
Heather
this?
Graham.
Wild Things is the only threesome I can
Oh
think
my
of,
God.
and I'm
no,
not a
I
Neve
swear
Campbell
there's a
fan.
movie with her, Robert Downey Jr.
Kevin Bacon's penis is in Wild Things.
Oh, didn't see Wild Things.
Kevin Bacon's penis is in
Oh, I
Wild
did see
Things.
that. Is that the canoe one where he was the bad guy? and
No,
he was-
that's
No,
the
that's
River
a River
Wild.
Runs
Oh,
Through It
River-
or
oh,
whatever.
River
yeah, yeah,
Wild.
yeah.
River Runs Through It has Brad Pitt.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah.
He didn't
All right,
shoot
so what's
these
your other
ever.
one then?
Oh,
Because
the
License
other
to
one-
Drive was on mine for sure.
Nice. The other one, and I guess it can fit into guilty pleasure, it's breaking from the norm because it is so influential with me, but it's also kind of not okay. Bill Cosby himself.
Oh.
The stand-up
You know what? It's
routine
sad
of Bill
because
Cosby himself. And this is my point. If we can separate the art from the artist for Woody Allen and Michael Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to separate the art from the artist from Bill Cosby and say I don't condone Bill Cosby, but Bill Cosby himself was incredibly influential
you
in
know
me.
what? I appreciate you saying that because some of my childhood memory, like I would literally, because my parents, like we had Eddie Murphy CDs, or actually their records back then, and they would make us throw them away because it was so.
Meanwhile, they kept the freaking
The pedophile-
Terry Bradshaw one.
Whatever. But,
Terry
but
Bradshaw had
the
an
Bill
album?
Cosby, we would watch as like a family, and we would be laughing and talking about how childbirth and baseball
Oh.
and and you do, and it's unfortunate that
Yeah.
it unraveled the way it did, and he is what he is. But I do appreciate
Yeah.
that because
But Bill
he
Cosby,
really was.
Bill Cosby himself was like 1980, 1981, and that existing in a vacuum
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of why I am who I am. Like I watched that thousands of times in the 80s.
Yeah.
I grew up. If I had nothing to do, I would put that tape in and I would watch it.
Yeah.
I learned.
Remember that.
I learned how to do the dentist movies. I would practice that. I would practice the dentist bit as
Oh
a
my
kid.
God, the dentist one. Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, yeah, that's exactly it.
I
And
would
you
do that
think
in
back
elementary
that,
school
and
to
that's
kids,
like,
and like
that's
that took so much practice.
hilarious.
So influential for me.
I can't follow that. I mean, that was good stuff, but
That
my
really is because it's controversial because of what he
Yeah.
has become. But really, back then, he was so funny and like you.
there was definitely some comedy stuff that I enjoyed and liked in the 80s, but if we're going to go with our guilty pleasures, I got to get it out there because I might, you've seen it, but I don't know if you guys have, American Anthem.
No, never seen American.
I know it just because I thought he was hot.
So it was a
He's a gymnast, a legit
Mitch
USA.
So Mitch Gaylord
Mitch Gaylord was
a legit Olympic
ring guy,
medalist
mostly.
gymnast, and they made a movie pretty much for him, where he was this high school kid.
Was Wayne Gretzky's wife in that
Yes,
movie?
Wayne Gretzky's wife played the chick that he ended up kind of having this thing with, because 80s
And
movies have to have a relationship.
This is my Duran Duran freakishness, loveness. I want to say Andy Taylor sang from Duran Duran. He was one of the guitarists, sang the theme for that.
He might
song.
have. We can Google
That's
it or
a whole other
whatever,
thing.
but
I'm a Duran Duran
basically it
fanatic.
was this kid finishing off high school or into high school or something like that, but he had an issue with his dad. He was this really great gymnast and going for nationals or whatever, but obviously had some personal issues to deal with. And then it was almost like the Karate Kid version of gymnastics, and that's kind of I put it as a guilty pleasure because even now as an adult I could still watch that movie all the way through. I wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did when I was a kid because I felt like there was part of me that was kind of like tapping into that character because I was an athlete, but I always felt like I was underrated compared to my abilities. And that's what I got out of that movie, and that's kind of why I hold it as a guilty pleasure. But, yeah, on that note, we're...
That's a good one because not everybody knows that one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
a good
that
one.
guilty.
I mean, it's definitely a
We're
guilty
going back,
pleasure.
Like, what is that? I have to Google.
I mean, we could have a recap next episode.
We got to do a part 2 of this because
I
there's
know,
so much more on my
man.
list we're not going to
I'm
get
like-
to.
Well, and I was actually going to
I got
ask,
like
do
50
you guys
movies
want to do a part 2, or do we spin it off
I
and
say
do
we
something
spin it
next?
off, and then the part 2 happens when it happens. But
Okay.
I say we spin the bottle.
Who's in the battle?
We don't
There's a
have
bottle.
a... Yeah.
Have the app?
We,
Oh, we're gonna
We don't need an app.
is there an app?
I will spin an actual bottle
So...
because in keeping with the 80s, we're going to spin a bottle to decide who comes next.
All right. As long as it doesn't land on... Oh, that kind of almost went towards me.
On your beer.
Or
Oh, it's
Matt.
All right. I was hoping it would be me because I have a good one.
Oh, nice.
As you all know, my son is now 12 and starting 7th grade, and puberty hit him like a Mack truck. And I know I have 1,000 stories, humiliating and otherwise, of puberty. So the next topic is going to be, what was puberty like for you guys?
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm gonna be the only girl.
Yes.
Ooh.
It's, oh man.
I didn't
feel
have a
like
voice
it's
change, but
I've been
humiliating.
going through puberty for the past 20 years.
Oh,
I've already got
I can't
some
wait
stuff
to
I'm
hear
thinking
about
of.
it.
Plenty
Oh.
of stories.
That's good. That's
This
going to
is
have
meant to
people
comfort the
waiting.
Might
12-year-olds of
gross
the
you out.
world, and it's meant to humiliate all of us. So
This is
Right.
awesome.
this
That's
is
a
the
good
time.
one.
This is the time to own up
Yep.
to
Okay.
the most embarrassing memories.
That's a good one
Of
because I
adolescence.
could relate. Well, I don't know if I could relate to you, but
We'll see.
I think we'll be
We'll see.
surprised. I think we'll be
Really?
surprised
Yeah.
that girls and boys are a lot more similar than we
girls
might
and
think.
boys.
Yes, we will see.
Okay,
All right.
that's
So stay tuned. We will be talking about puberty next.
That's a good one.